What's up, everybody? It's the Faces Caseworker, man. We're back at it again, and today we want to talk about something that's growing in America that I see that's not being talked about, but we must get to it. The dangerous rise of America's white gangs. That's right, everybody. We're talking about the rise of white gangs in the great country of America. All right? White gangs, as we know, are hardly ever covered in the media. They get punished less, even though 53% of gang members in Mississippi are white. If you want to hear about white gangbangers like 1090 Jake, stop right here. This is for you. All right, we're talking about white gangs. All right, and I'm checking out some information on a guy named Benny Ivy when he was 13 from Florence, Mississippi. All right, this guy apparently put in enough work in these streets and lived in I guess he lived in a very impoverished neighborhood to be a white boy. Because like I stated in past videos, I find it interesting, how someone like 1090 Jake can end up becoming a gangbanger. America is predominantly, supported Anglo-Saxon population. All right. And the rest of the country, that usually has to fall by the wayside. Now, like I said in another video, I'm not saying that there are not white people don't live in poverty, and crime, drugs, and gangs. All right, I think all those things intertwine in the ghetto. But what I'm speaking on is not spoken on, because when something is not spoken on, it's like it doesn't exist. All right, but today we're gonna bring it to light. All right, now back in Mississippi, a place who has 50%, 53% of gang members in Mississippi are white. A kid, and when at the age of 13, put in I guess he put enough pain in the ghettos of Mississippi to end up becoming a black gangster disciple. Right? This is very shocking to me. All right. Now, I, for myself, went through the prison system as a childhood, in my teens, and yes, I did see a few white kids in there. Obviously, anyone can get arrested, but as far as the major gangs, this is in PA too. Majority of the gangs were all black and Hispanic. All right. You had a few Aryan Nation people, but they weren't very big and they weren't considered gangs. They're considered more like brotherhoods. All right. It's not a gang, it's a brotherhood if they're white. If they're black, they're gang banging and they're getting that Rico. That's just the way it is. All right. Now, this is 89 when this kid, Benny Ivy, was in Mississippi. All right. That's what we know was going on. 89 crack, and you can name it, high murder rate, right? Now, this kid lived in a trailer park, but he saw the gangbangers. He saw the black disciples wearing the flags, and he wanted to be a part of it. All right, he wanted to be down. All right, but knew nothing about gangbanging. He just liked the allure of it. All right, it's kind of like when I was younger, living in the Bronx, and I saw many drug dealers driving all these fancy cars, putting Louis Vuitton on, and all these fancy stuff. All the girls wanted them. You don't know that the evils that they do as a child, but you see the nice things that they have, and you want to be a part of it. Everybody likes them. They're smiling. They look good. They look clean. You want to be them. So I'm sure that Benny Ivy went through the same thing as me. All right. Now he wanted to be down. All right. But somehow the black gangster cyber didn't accept him. All right. They didn't let him in. So he ended up joining a gang called the Simon City Royals. All right. It's the largest and oldest gang in the United States. All right. They were raised rough. They were raised in the pits. All right. I guess that's equivalent to the trap. They were raised in the trap. All right. So I'm interested in this. Mississippi white gangs, 53%. They're running the show down there. This is groundbreaking. Now, flashback to 2021. Mr. Ivy is about 43 now, fit, tatted up, putting in a lot of work. No longer wants to be a black disciple. Correction if I stated that he ended up joining the black disciple. He wanted to, but they wouldn't let him in, so he joined the Simon City Royale, so all white gang, not a brotherhood, they're a gang. All right, and now he considers himself a redneck. So he has a lot of the same interactions, the same how would you say, properties as a black gangman: tattoos, prison time, violent activities, selling crack, living in the ghetto, all the same stuff. All right, Mr. Ivy at 15 sold crack. He robbed drug dealers. All right, he broke into houses, burglarized, kicked people in the face, beat down. This is all his words. He went to juvenile detention center, some of the worst places, as they call training schools in Mississippi. Said he was tortured. All right, amongst with the black and the poor white kids. All right, when he was 12 years old, he followed his uncles, dropped out of school, and got on drugs. Even though he worked as a carpenter and got $20 an hour, most of it was to pay for his high. All right, so they suffer the same problems as blacks and Hispanics in these gangs, using drugs and becoming addicted to drugs and using criminal act behavior and activities to support their drug habit. All right, this is statistic offenses in Mississippi committed by gangs. All right, it's a very high drug and property crimes. Are 2/3 of the crimes committed in Mississippi. So they have a big problem down there. All right. Now, Mr. Ivy, the subject of the day, once again was addicted to drugs and needs money. All right. So he started pumping out of a drug house with his other friends, and he continued to do so until he got arrested. All right. And obviously, Mr. Ivy also witnessed deaths of his friends, similar to black gangs. All right. And he was arrested for aggravated assault. He assaulted a man at a party one time in his life and got a year suspended, but he kept robbing and went back to jail. All right. So this sounds similar to a black Hispanic person growing up and joining gangs, the drug use, the criminal behavior, and the prison time. All right. Now this gang, the roots started back in 1952. All right. It was a white gang that would protect their turf back in Chicago from the Puerto Ricans who lived there. All right. So basically, they were like a racist group, and they want to keep everybody out of their neighborhood. Even the flyer of this gang shows them with hoods on their neck. So, regardless of the origin of these white gangs, they did originate from racist groups. All right. And in Chicago, excuse me, some of these white gangs were intermingling with some of the black gangs, such as the Folk Nation. In the 70s, the Royales was a white gang, joined the Folk Nation Alliance with the Black Gangster Disciples, who also started admitting Spanish people into the gang. So, that's why I want to apologize and make my correction for my previous video regarding 1090 Jake. It was just a lack of knowledge. But now I'm more knowledgeable on the subject that whites were in black gangs since the 70s. All right. But we're seeing a bigger rise. The rise in the gangs is spreading like wildfire amongst communities, black and white. All right. Fox News needs to, if you care about your community and your conglomerates and the people that you care about, Fox News, all right, you need to pay attention to these white gangs. All right. White gangs, just like black gangs, are bringing the morality of our country down. All right. The Aryan white man is a stand-up man of the this is who the world looks up to, because they put blacks and Hispanics in such a bad light. The world looks up to you white guys, all right, to make America look good. How would it look good if you know the majority of your youth are turning into gangbangers who are doing petty crimes and using petty drugs? It's not a good look. All right. Fox News, you need to report this stuff. CNN, you guys need to report all this stuff about white gangs. Stop focusing on Bloods and Crips and all these other minority groups that everybody knows about, all right? Start promoting these white gangs and put them in the news. Start giving them the same type of indictments, not biker gangs. I'm talking about gangs, right? The tatted up, throwing signs, white boys, all right? They should get the same surveillance, same FBI attention, everything. You want to lock other gangs up? Lock them up too. All right? This is it. I'm the Facious Caseworker. Please tune in, subscribe. I'm out of here.